Unveiling Shadows, The Palmenhaus Truth. Hosted by Kristof L. Hi everyone, welcome to the Unveiling Shadows, where I, Kristof L, a Belgian national caught in a storm of corruption, share the Palmenhaus case. A story that could be straight out of a Netflix crime series. Grab a coffee, because this is real, and it's time we pay attention. It started in 2022, on a Hungarian holiday. I was abducted on the ridiculous and impossible rape and abduction charges. Case number 27 ST90/22S. Despite mountains of evidence proving my innocence, with help from friends and volunteers investigating this, we are piecing this atrocity all together. A woman, my key witness, changed everything. Her chats to me revealed scams, drugging, wild parties at Palmenhaus and some other places. All trafficking hubs. She was a victim first, then coerced to help, her family working also alongside these criminals, leaving her trapped with nowhere to go. She sent me visual footage of the crimes in Palmenhaus. There were security clips of attacks of my Hungarian holiday home. Recordings of the traffickers threatening to make me disappear if I spoke, and proof of their fraud. Chats and calls with my relatives and friends were recorded too, containing very harsh threats to me and my family, by criminals claiming to be protected by Austrian judges, with witnesses backing it and recorded evidence proving it. This is all detailed in my 54-page letter, which I filed on August 26, 2025 with my interrogation with the Belgian police, but which I am already 3 years submitting to the Ministry of Austria of Justice, asking for investigation. Now let's dive into your questions. Thanks for engaging, and I'm very pleased that people are interested in the case. So the first question of Mia by message. How does your case connect to the Pilnacek case, the judge who died in 2023? Now, Mia, that's a great question. The Pilnacek, he faced corruption charges in 2022, like I exactly reported in my case and in the similar region. The judges who, with evidence tampered, like his wife, Caroline L, even burned his phone and get caught with this in 2023 after his suspicious death. Wasn't she supreme judge of the court against who I made the accusations, and she did this openly of what I had just made the accusations. Now let me quickly explain this. November 2022, I accused the judges of Graz in case 27 ST90/22S to do exactly everything where the Pilnacek investigation was about: perjury, denying human rights and a fair defense, cover-up, and destruction and losing of evidence. Now I'm being indicted that this would be misinformation. As you can see here, all the articles about this subject from Austrian media, which actually means I am being sued for reading out loud news articles. And of course, having some insider knowledge. My letters and request forms from in prison show the judges ignoring the proof, just as his case stalled. And they also violated seriously human rights in the process of their corruption. I didn't really get a soft treatment, I mean. I can only describe my incarceration to having felt I was being set up for an involuntary suicide, which probably also wouldn't get investigated like they refused to investigate Pilnacek, his suspicious suicide. His mysterious death with no autopsy suggests someone can silence even supreme judges without people asking questions these days. We seriously have a problem with mainstream media lying and covering cases like this up. And I wonder, is it fair to use taxpayer money unknowingly through crooked NGOs and using it for political weaponization of the justice system against the taxpayers?
I want to thank my colleague Ro Khanna for co-leading this effort to bring transparency and justice for these victims. I hope my colleagues are watching this press conference. I want them to think, what if this was your sister? What if this was your daughter? When these survivors speak, the Washington establishment is asking the American public to believe something that is not believable. They're asking you to believe that two individuals created hundreds of victims and they acted alone, and that the DOJ has no idea of who else might have been involved, that nobody else did anything that rose to a criminal enterprise. The American people know that's not true. Now, the Speaker of the House just offered a fig leaf to my colleagues. They're going to vote on a non-binding resolution today that does absolutely nothing. I appreciate the efforts of my colleague James Comer, who's leading the Oversight Committee. They may find some information, but they're allowing the DOJ to curate all of the information that the DOJ is giving them. If you've looked at the pages they've released so far, they're heavily redacted. Some pages are entirely redacted. And 97% of this is already in the public domain. So I'm calling on my colleagues. Be one of the next two who sponsors this discharge petition. I think it's shameful that this has been called a hoax. Hopefully today we can clear that up. This is not a hoax. This is real. There are real survivors. There are real victims to this criminal enterprise. And the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C. So today we're standing with these survivors, we're giving them a voice, and I want to close by thanking them. They are brave. I hope they encourage other survivors to come forward and to tell their stories, not just of Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell, but anywhere in the country. This is a message that we are sending. This is a litmus test. Can we drain the swamp? Are there people who are outside of the reach of the law? I don't think there should be. So hopefully today we'll get 2 more signatures on the discharge petition. That's all we need. And with that, I want to introduce the bravest woman in Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I find it interesting that the 3 Republican co-sponsors are women. These are women standing up for women. And Marjorie was the first to do it. And I think she deserves all of our gratitude for breaking that barrier and leading the way for the other Republicans. Hopefully they can find their spines as well. And with that, I give you Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Good morning. This is my 5th year in Congress, and this is the largest press conference that I've seen since I've been here. And this is because this is an issue that matters so much to Americans. This is an issue that doesn't have political boundaries. It's an issue that Republicans and Democrats should never fight about. As a matter of fact, it's such an important issue that it should bring us all together. It's grieved me to watch the arguments and debates take place among my colleagues and even the administration. I think this is something that was worth fighting for. You see, the women behind me are going to tell you stories that you've never heard before. These are unimaginable horrors that they've lived with for their entire lives since they were very, very young. But these are also similar stories that many children, teenagers, women, and even men are enduring nightmares right now as we speak. You see, these women have been fighting since the 1990s. I heard one woman tell us yesterday since 1996. And they have carried with them shame. But I want to tell you something. The shame does not fall on these brave, courageous women. The shame falls on every single person that coldly turned a blind eye to their abuse. The shame falls on every single person that enabled it. The shame falls on every single person that took money to continue it. And the shame falls on the people in power over the past several decades that protected the monster, Jeffrey Epstein, and his cabal that continued a nightmare. Those people deserve the shame. And today we are coming forward and we are going to fight like hell for these women, because we have to fight like hell for those that are enduring sexual abuse and are living in a prison of shame. Anyone that is being abused, it is not your fault. You should live with no guilt or fear or shame. All of the fault belongs to the evil people that do these things to the innocent. This is the most important fight we can wage here in Congress, is fighting for innocent people that never receive justice. And the women behind me have never received justice. And do you want to know why? It's because Jeffrey Epstein somehow was able to walk among the most rich, powerful people, not only in America, but foreign countries. Yesterday, I heard countries like Saudi Arabia, Russia, and even Israel, and other countries.
Thank you, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, for this breaking news. But I do have to say it starts to remind me a little bit of the Palmenhaus scandal where we are talking here about. Because this woman, who was working for an NGO who was supposedly doing all the things you just described, was actually doing very different things. Instead of helping the woman's victim of these crimes, they were funding an illegal lawsuit against the men trying to help these women and trying to report the crimes to police. They silenced the crimes that he reported to police and let him to be locked up in a dungeon, while they were forcing the girls to go back to the human traffickers that were abusing them already since they're 16, and who also were claiming they were protected by Austrian judges for some reason. And seeing all the advertisement and also what the police from Austria explained me, this is clearly not what is the description of this NGO, I guess. So I wonder why nobody wants to investigate why these people are doing this with taxpayer money. And although Minister Zadig has clearly ties with this NGO and the woman in question, she already 3 years refuses to have this investigated. Also, she has now clearly ties because she appointed the judge from Graz to be transferred to Klagenfurt to now indict me over the release of the evidence proving my claims are true. So instead of investigating this, they are moving supreme judges around to sue me over YouTube videos to other courts, doing like they'd have nothing to do with the corruption of the previous court. The judge now indicting me is literally the previous judge of the court that I am accusing of all this corruption. And this is called a fair trial in Austria, apparently. And of course, if we go to see who is funding this lawsuit, I am sure we are going to find again the NGO Gewaltschutzentrum funding this ridiculous lawsuit with taxpayer money.
Davon, dass der gesamte Justizapparat von Tätern oder Juristen durchsetzt ist, die in prekäre Situationen gebracht und erpresst wurden und noch werden. Daher gäbe es kein Recht für die Opfer satanisch-ritueller Gewalt. Sehen Sie dazu die aufwendig recherchierte Klar-TV-Doku Skandal Justiz weltweit in pädokriminelle Netzwerke verstrickt.
Wir haben da leider sehr viele, die da gegraben haben, die leben nicht mehr. Die sind einfach um die Ecke gebracht worden. Andere sind gerade jetzt in den letzten Jahren inhaftiert worden, die halt diesen Strukturen und den Ringen ritueller sexueller Gewalt, also Stichwort Nathalie, Stichwort Chantal, auf der Spur waren. Wer jetzt aktuell im Gefängnis sitzt, die werden dann in die rechte Ecke gestellt, die werden diffamiert, geframed und als Reichsbürger dargestellt, aber die waren im Kinderschutz aktiv.
Zum Beispiel der ehemalige Generalstabsoffizier Max Eder wurde unter dem Vorwurf Reichsbürger und Rechtsextremist verhaftet. Er konnte die Angaben im Fall Nathalie verifizieren und notariell hinterlegen. Nach seinem erstellten Gutachten zum Fall Natalie entging er in München nur knapp einem Mordanschlag. Seine Wohnung wurde mehrmals durchsucht. Edas Vater wurde auf dem Weg nach Deutschland auf der Autobahn verfolgt und in einen Unfall verwickelt. Alle Beweise der Sonderaktionen in den Dumps im Basler Dreieck, zu den Bunkeranlagen im Schwarzwald, im Bodenseeraum, wurden von Eder gesichert und bei Anwälten und Notaren hinterlegt. Die Beweise zeigen die Verstrickungen in Politik, Behörden und Ämter.
Auszug aus seinem Brief vom 1. Mai 2023. Da konnte ich reichhaltiges Material zusammentragen, was Bilder, Videos und Namen umfasst. In dieser Auflistung finden sich auch die Namen von Politikern bis in hohe Ebenen hinein, denen eine Veröffentlichung durch mich nachvollziehbarerweise mehr als unangenehm wäre.
Jeder, der über Kindesmissbrauch berichtet, durch behördliche oder staatliche Organe, der wird verfolgt. Ja, sie werden alle zerrissen, öffentlich zerrissen, weil die Medienlandschaften nicht mehr das machen, was sie eigentlich tun sollten, nämlich die vierte Gewalt sein. Nee, sie tun sich zusammen, sie verbünden sich mit den Ermittlungsbehörden, sogar mit Gerichten und zerreißen die Leute schon vorher in der Luft. Wir haben keine ordentliche Justiz mehr, wir haben schon gar keine ordentliche Staatsanwaltschaft. Wir wissen, dass wir Politiker haben, die pädokriminell sind. Wir wissen, dass wir Richter und Staatsanwälte haben, Polizeipräsidenten haben, die pädokriminell sind. Ja, und es wird vertuscht. Dieser Vertuschungsapparat geschieht dadurch, dass die, die es ansprechen, eben hinter Gittern landen. Ganz einfach, damit sie möglichst unglaubwürdig sind, weil sie sind ja Staatsterroristen oder was weiß ich, Reichsbürger, was auch immer ein Reichsbürger sein soll, ja.
About the Palmenhaus investigations from August 2022. He transferred to Klagenfurt on July 1, 2025. Now he targets my video exposing the recording proving that I'm right, claiming I don't have the publishing rights. 3 years as they have blocked probes into trafficking and judicial bias, it's a cover-up like Pilnacek's. Those with power can erase scrutiny, and I hope this inspires real action. This isn't just my fight. Elites misusing our taxes and dishonest leaders let it slide.
That have been released, I have to at least look over some of them. I'd like to get through all of them before I decide whether or not I'm going to do that, but I think that they've basically released everything except for the victim information, which obviously we don't release that. One thing to note that today when we were actually talking to some of the victims, one of the women stated that at 14, when Epstein started to victimize her, that she has no recollection of some of the stuff that was done to her. She's hoping to find that out so that she can actually bring it to her therapist and continue the healing process in regards to the damage and the trauma that was caused to her. So, but from what I'm being told, from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of very wealthy, bad people. It's actually scary to hear some of the stuff that was brought forward. And so I think the only way to collectively attack this is as a group and as a whole, meaning that Democrats and Republicans have to work together and back home or subpoenas, because I think this is going to be pretty hairy.
Is there more information beyond these 33,000 pages?
Well, there's going to be names. The attorneys kept emphasizing you need to follow up on the names. These girls are not just making this up. These are some of the wealthiest people probably in the world. And we'll start from there.
So they named individual people that are part of this?
Apparently in these files that just dropped, I have not been able to look over all the files. Again, there's 33,000
I'm talking about
pages.
in the meeting.
There are some people named, yes.
Were there any public officials that they named?
No, but very, very wealthy people have been named.
Can you name them here?
They told us not to because they don't want those people to start basically burning files. So I think this is going criminal investigation for sure. I will say that what's been released, obviously the American people have wanted for a long time. Kudos to the DOJ for getting it to us. I know that some of the delay was due to redacting victim information, and so we'll see where it goes from here.
For me, the turning point was when I had my daughter. And on the day she was born, I knew I had a responsibility to protect her and to protect all children. I have to use my voice, the voice that had been silenced by fear and shame for so many years. Make no mistake, my polished exterior is a shield hiding a wound that still bleeds. But through this wound, I have found purpose. To be part of lasting change in how we confront exploitation and abuse. And to be clear, the only motive for opposing this bill would be to conceal wrongdoing. You have a choice. Stand with the truth or with the lies that have protected predators for decades. I am no longer weak. I am no longer powerless. And I'm no longer alone. And with your vote, neither will the next generation be. President Trump, you have so much influence and power in this situation. Please use that influence and power to help us. Because we need it now, and this country needs it now. Thank you.
I love Europe, its soul, the people, our culture and values, not its management. Maybe a decentralized, over-government entity inspired by Trump's transparency and Elon's innovation could fix this. Maybe we need something like Doge in Europe. With my family and friends, we are a team of volunteers exposing the truth and helping to investigate cases like this, because there is already a long list. You can find a nice summary of cases in the documentary Die Blutsekte Teil 1, 2 and 3 from KLA TV.
Sekte 3. Weitere Opfer und Zeugen berichten von einem elitären Täterfilz.
Ich wurde in viele Länder verschleppt, zu hochrangigen satanischen Mitgliedern im Vereinigten Königreich. Die Queen, ein Vizepräsident der USA, ein Diplomat der USA, ein prominenter britischer Rockstar. 2 sehr bekannte Berühmtheiten in den USA, Premierminister im Vereinigten Königreich und Regierungsbeamte in Irland, Regierungsbeamte, Ärzte und Lehrer in Neuseeland.
Die Überlebende, liebe Zuschauerinnen, liebe Zuschauer, genau deshalb decken wir diese Gräueltaten auf. Die Überlebende Dea Heibel und viele andere Opfer zeugen auch davon, dass der gesamte Justizapparat von Tätern oder Juristen durchsetzt ist, die in prekäre Situationen gebracht und erpresst wurden und noch werden. Daher gäbe es kein Recht für die Opfer satanisch-ritueller Gewalt. Sehen Sie dazu die aufwendig recherchierte Klar-TV-Doku Skandal Justiz weltweit in pädokriminelle Netzwerke verstrickt.
Wir haben da leider sehr viele, die da gegraben haben, die leben nicht mehr. Die sind einfach um die Ecke gebracht worden. Andere sind gerade jetzt in den letzten Jahren inhaftiert worden, die halt diesen Strukturen und den Ringen ritueller sexueller Gewalt, also Stichwort Natalie, Stichwort Chantal, auf der Spur waren. Wer jetzt aktuell im Gefängnis sitzt, die werden dann in die rechte Ecke gestellt, die werden diffamiert, geframed und als Reichsbürger dargestellt, aber die waren im Kinderschutz aktiv.
Zum Beispiel der ehemalige Generalstabsoffizier Max Eder wurde unter dem Vorwurf Reichsbürger und Rechtsextremist verhaftet. Er konnte die Angaben im Fall Natalie verifizieren und notariell hinterlegen. Nach seinem erstellten Gutachten zum Fall Natalie entging er in München nur knapp einem Mordanschlag. Seine Wohnung wurde mehrmals durchsucht. Eders Vater wurde auf dem Weg nach Deutschland auf der Autobahn verfolgt und in einen Unfall verwickelt. Alle Beweise der Sonderaktionen in den Dumps im Basler Dreieck, zu den Bunkeranlagen im Schwarzwald, im Bodenseeraum, wurden von Eder gesichert und bei Anwälten und Notaren hinterlegt. Die Beweise zeigen die Verstrickungen in Politik, Behörden und Ämter.
Auszug aus seinem Brief vom 1. Mai 2023. Da konnte ich reichhaltiges Material zusammentragen, was Bilder, Videos und Namen umfasst. In dieser Auflistung finden sich auch die Namen von Politikern bis in hohe Ebenen hinein, denen eine Veröffentlichung durch mich nachvollziehbarerweise mehr als unangenehm wäre.
Jeder, der über Kindesmissbrauch berichtet, durch behördliche oder staatliche Organe, der wird verfolgt. Ja, sie werden alle zerrissen, öffentlich zerrissen, weil die Medienlandschaften nicht mehr das machen, was sie eigentlich tun sollten, nämlich die 4. Gewalt sein. Nee, sie tun sich zusammen, sie verbünden sich mit den Ermittlungsbehörden, sogar mit Gerichten, und zerreißen die Leute schon vorher in der Luft. Wir haben keine ordentliche Justiz mehr. Wir haben schon gar keine ordentliche Staatsanwaltschaft. Wir wissen, dass wir Politiker haben, die pädokriminell sind. Wir wissen, dass wir Richter und Staatsanwälte haben, Polizeipräsidenten haben, die pädokriminell sind. Ja? Und es wird vertuscht. Dieser Vertuschungsapparat geschieht dadurch, dass die es ansprechen, eben hinter Gittern landen. Ganz einfach, damit sie möglichst unglaubwürdig sind, weil sie sind ja Staatsterroristen oder was weiß ich, Reichsbürger, was auch immer ein Reichsbürger sein soll, ja.
Dr. Christidis selbst wird seit Jahren wegen ihres Engagements gegen Kindesentzug und Kindesmissbrauch von der Justiz mit gerichtlichen Verfahren überzogen. Insgesamt wurden sie mit 82 Strafverfahren belegt. Immer wieder versucht man offenbar, sie lahmzulegen. Laurent Louis
and also Alex Jones and InfoWars devote a lot of attention to these cases.
Confirmed. When we imported the Nazi and fascist scientists into the U.S. in the wake of World War II, they brought the formula for mind control. Anybody can research that for themselves. It was Project Paperclip. And those people kept everything secret through their secret societies and secret meetings. The secret is mind control. The secret is how they were going to create this slave society.
Well, it's partially classified. The Germans called it mind war, and they were spending something like 10% of their budget on it. A bunch of their generals didn't want to, but that would Mengele headed that up. But yeah, it's called the Mind War Project, and the U.S. got those files.
Right, exactly. And so it was perpetuated here. Well, as soon as it was brought into the U.S., the 1947 National Security Act went into place to keep it secret. And with the National Security Act in 1947 came the CIA. The CIA was put in place to start enforcing this globalist agenda and start sneaking it into society and infiltrating it into different areas. So these secret meetings that I was exposed to at Mackinac Island, Michigan, and Bohemian Grove and everything is where these global leaders would get together and decide the fate of humanity.
Talk about some of those meetings. This is a cabin forum. How are you exposed to it at these meetings?
I was used in the blackmail ops to fulfill perversions that were being filmed. And, again, they don't trust each other either, so they hold each other by the blackmail, so to speak. So I was used in those positions with them and was also, because I was there for that, heard discussions that were going on at the time and was privy to those. So there were a lot of discussions that were going on that are documented in Transformation of America. So people can look into those further. But they've been planning the infiltration of society for a long, long time. It's been going on.
They're using behavioral psychology with government control to play God.
Also, Mike Benz.
Going to try to describe to you is the shape of the beast that we are up against and that's targeted so many people in this room. Hillsdale asked me to speak about this particular topic, the history of the intelligence state. Obviously, the intelligence state is a concept that implies that intelligence has taken over the state and that it has somehow gone rogue. Something has gone very wrong, that intelligence, which is supposed to serve the state, has subsumed it. I will present the essential history of the intelligence state, but there is something beyond.
Elon Musk, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, they are really keen on investigating them and exposing the financial part of it. I hope my story can help out, open your eyes, and inspire to join the quest for justice.
This is not about politics. And this is a boiling point in American history where the American people, just like Roe just said, there's become two Americas. There's the America for the rich and the powerful and the elite, where they never face any struggles or problems and never experience what real America goes through. And then there's forgotten America that faces all the problems and deals with all the issues and never gets justice for being sexually assaulted and raped by a monster. It shouldn't exist anymore, and people are sick of it. So let's recognize the fact that the administration before and the one before it and the one before it and the one before it and before it never did anything about this. So this isn't one political party or the other. It's a culmination of everyone worked together to silence these women and protect Jeffrey Epstein and his cabal. And this is not just rich, powerful people. Think his drivers, his maids, his chefs, all the people, people that worked in his home, security guards. I heard one story from a young woman that was being raped by Jeffrey Epstein when he was out on work release while he was serving time in prison and had an ankle monitor on his leg. Guess what? There was a police officer outside that door. So this list of names is quite a list of names, and it doesn't extend just in the rich, powerful circles. It extends down to the very bottom where people were paid. And again, I will say this, there's victims suffering today in similar circumstances, and they're terrified to name the names of the people that are currently abusing them. And so with these brave, courageous women fighting this fight, this is a fight for women and children and any person that is facing sexual abuse and rape and captivity and human trafficking right now. And so here's what I ask you in the press. Don't go for salacious headlines. Go for the truth and defend these women and help those of us in Congress that are crossing our political party lines for doing the right thing and trying to do it together. And thank you, Ro, and thank you, Thomas. And now I recognize Thomas Massey from Kentucky.
Well, there's 3 branches of government, and we're supposed to keep each other accountable. And that's what we're doing here today in the People's House. We're standing in front of the People's House with real people, not a hoax. And they've told their story. We wanted to give them a platform to speak, and they've had it. They stepped up, and they were brave. But I also today hope that they would persuade my colleagues to join this effort. But I found out something today that happened that I wasn't expecting. They persuaded me to fight even harder. I'm not going to give up. And I want to end with this call to action. First, a call to action to my colleagues who, just an hour before this press conference, were prepared. They were given a fig leaf. We'll put a resolution on the floor so that you can say that you voted to protect the survivors. Their resolution doesn't really do anything. And that's the oldest trick in the swamp. When you want to kill the momentum, when you want to kill initiative, you introduce a placebo, a different bill that does nothing, and then try to pull the wool over the eyes of the American people. That's not going to happen this time. We demand real accountability.
Like the FBO inquiry that is happening on September this month, hoping to bring clarity over the Pilnacek case. Let's save our system step by step, and who knows, maybe earn a nod from the heroes who are inspired.
And with your vote, neither will the next generation be. President Trump, you have so much influence and power in this situation. Please use that influence and power to help us, because we need it now, and this country needs it now. Thank you.
Airing this change. For more, follow at Palmenhaus for Justice. And please subscribe to Real Alex Jones at Infowars and X.
While other networks lie to you about what's happening now, Infowars tells you the truth about what's happening next. Visit Infowars.com/show and support the Infowars.
Government fears Alex Jones, who has the largest audience in the country, bigger than any of the networks, the biggest megaphone in the country.
The deep state hates Alex Jones with a vengeance.
Alex Jones is the most extraordinary person I've ever met.